My name is Nadia and I'm 28 years old. But to understand my story, you need to know what it's like to grow up believing you're not enough. I was 7 years old the first time I realized I was different. My brother Marcus brought home another perfect report card, all A's, and my parents hung it on the refrigerator like it was a masterpiece. I remember staring at that paper, at all those beautiful letters, and feeling something twist inside my chest. My own report card was hidden in my backpack. C's and D's. Red marks everywhere. My teacher had written a note at the bottom that said I needed to try harder. But I was trying. God, I was trying so hard. Marcus was 3 years older than me, and he made everything look easy. Math problems that made my head hurt, he solved in seconds. Books I struggled to read, he finished in a day. At dinner, my parents would ask him about school, and he'd talk about science projects and spelling bees and awards. Then they'd turn to me, and I'd see that look in their eyes. It's that worried, disappointed look. It's like they were wondering what went wrong with me. Marcus started calling me the dumb one when I was about 10. At first, he said it like a joke. We'd be doing homework together, and I'd ask him to explain something for the third time. And he'd laugh and ruffle my hair and say, "Come on, Nadia. Even a little kid could understand this. Are you the dumb one, or what?" I'd laugh too, even though it felt like swallowing glass, because what else could I do? It was my big brother. He was just teasing. It's what brothers do, right? But it didn't stay a joke for long. By the time I was in middle school, Marcus used it in front of other people. At family dinners, he'd tell stories about my mistakes. Remember when Nadia thought Alaska was a country? Remember when she failed that easy math test? Remember when she couldn't figure out how to use the microwave? Everyone would laugh. My aunts, my uncles, my cousins, even my parents would smile and shake their heads like I was this lovable, hopeless case. I started believing it. When you hear something enough times, it becomes true in your mind. I stopped raising my hand in class because I was afraid of saying something stupid. I stopped trying new things because I knew I'd just fail anyway. I looked at my brother with his trophies and his perfect grades and his bright future, and I looked at myself. And I knew I'd never measure up. When I barely graduated high school, nobody was surprised. Marcus was already in college by then, studying business, making our parents proud. I remember the day they sat me down in the living room. Dad cleared his throat, and Mom looked at her hands, and they told me they couldn't afford to send both of us to school. Marcus had a real future ahead. Of him, they said. He had potential. Okay, maybe I could get a job instead. Help support the family while Marcus finished his education. I didn't argue. How could I? I was the dumb one. Marcus was the smart one. That's just how it was. That's how it had always been. So I got a job at the grocery store on the corner scanning items and bagging groceries, and I told myself this was enough. This was all I deserved. I was 28 years old before I learned the truth. Before I learned that everything I believed about myself was a lie. I was 26 when I got the phone call that shattered my world. Mom and Dad were gone. It's a car accident on a rainy Tuesday night. They were driving home from their anniversary dinner. A truck ran a red light. The police officer's voice on the phone was gentle, but his words felt like knives. "Your parents didn't suffer," he said. Like that was supposed to make it better. I couldn't breathe. I dropped the phone and fell to my knees in my tiny apartment. And I screamed. Not words, just sound. Raw and broken and animal. Marcus didn't cry at the funeral. He stood there in his expensive black suit, shaking hands, accepting condolences, being strong. I sobbed through the entire service. I couldn't stop. People kept touching my shoulder, whispering that it would be okay, but nothing felt okay. Nothing felt like it would ever be okay again. After the service, I heard Marcus talking to one of Dad's old friends. "I have to be strong for both of us," he was saying. "Nadia's not really equipped to handle this kind of thing. You know how she is?" Even in my grief, those words found me, dug into me. It's a dumb one, the weak one, the one who can't handle things a week later. We sat in a lawyer's office. Mr. Patterson was an old man with kind eyes and a gentle voice. He opened the will and started reading. I wasn't really listening. I assumed everything would go to Marcus. That's how it had always been. Marcus got the opportunities. Marcus got the praise. Marcus got the future. So when Mr. Patterson said the words split equally between both children, I thought I'd heard him wrong. I'm sorry. What? I whispered. Mr. Patterson smiled at me. Your parents left everything to be divided 50-50. The house, the savings account, the life insurance. Everything is to be split equally between you and Marcus. I looked at Marcus. His face had gone completely white. His jaw was clenched. So tight I could see the muscle jumping in his cheek. 50-50, he repeated. Are you absolutely certain that's what they wanted? Mr. Patterson nodded. Your parents were very clear about this, Mr. Marcus. They came to me 6 months ago. To update their will, your mother specifically said she wanted both of her children taken care of equally. She said, and I quote, Nadia deserves security just as much as Marcus does. Something broke open inside my chest. My mother had said that. My mother, who I thought was disappointed in me, who I thought saw me as the failure, had wanted to take care of me, had thought I deserved something. I started crying again, but this time it was different. This time there was something warm mixed in with the pain. Marcus pulled me aside after the meeting. We stood in the parking lot and he put his hand on my shoulder. The gesture looked brotherly, protective. Nadia, listen, he said softly. We need to talk about this realistically. You've never been good with money. You know that, remember? When you overdrew your checking account 3 times in 1 year? Remember how confused you get with bills and taxes and all that complicated stuff? I felt myself shrinking, becoming small again. I know, but I'm not saying this to be mean, he interrupted. I'm saying this because I love you. 'Cause I want to protect you? Why don't you sign your half over to me? I'll manage it. I'll invest it properly. I'll make sure it grows. And you'll always have access to it when you need it. I promise. I'll take care of everything, just like I've always taken care of you. I wanted to say no. Every instinct in my body was screaming at me to say no. But this was Marcus, my big brother, the smart one, the one who understood things I didn't. And I was so tired, so broken, so scared of making the wrong choice and losing everything Mom and Dad had left me. So I signed the papers he put in front of me. I signed away my inheritance. I signed away my security. I signed away the one thing my mother had wanted me to have. And Marcus smiled and hugged me and promised everything would be okay. It was the biggest mistake of my life. 6 months after I signed those papers, I woke up with pain so sharp it took my breath away. My appendix. The emergency room doctor said I needed surgery right away. The procedure went fine, but when the hospital bill came, my hands started shaking. My insurance covered most of it, but I still owed $3,000. $3,000 I didn't have. I called Marcus from my apartment, still sore from the surgery, still scared. Hey, I need your help. I need to withdraw some money from my share of the inheritance. Just $3,000. For the hospital bill? The silence on the other end stretched so long I thought the call had dropped. Then Marcus sighed. Nadia, that's not really how this works. My stomach dropped. What do you mean? The money's invested. It's not just sitting in an account where I can pull it out whenever you want something. These are long-term investments. If I withdraw now, you'll lose money. You'll lose growth. Trust me, this is better for you in the long run. But Marcus, I need it. I have a hospital bill. I can't just not pay it. Another sigh, longer this time. Like I was exhausting him. How much do you make at the grocery store now? Can't you set up a payment plan or something? Look, I'm trying to help you build a real future here. If you keep pulling money out for every little thing, you'll end up with nothing. Every little thing. My emergency surgery was a little thing. I set up the payment plan, $50 a month. I could barely afford. I started eating less, skipping meals, turning off the heat in winter to save money. And the whole time I wondered where my money was, what Marcus had invested it in, why I couldn't see any statements or paperwork. I started asking questions. Can I see where the money is? Okay, can I get copies of the investment accounts? Marcus always had an excuse. He was too busy with work. The documents were too complicated. I wouldn't understand them anyway. You know, you're not good with this stuff, Nadia, he'd say, and there it was again. That familiar sting. It's a dumb one. My coworker Lisa found me crying in the break room one day. I'd just gotten off the phone with Marcus after asking again about my money. He'd gotten angry this time, told me I was being ungrateful, that he was doing me a favor by managing my inheritance, and this is how I repaid him. Lisa sat down next to me and put her arm around my shoulders. What? She was older than me, maybe 50, with gray streaks in her hair and the kindest eyes I'd ever seen. She'd been working at the store for 20 years and treated everyone like family. Honey, what's going on? She asked. I told her everything about the inheritance, about signing it over, about not being able to access my own money. I expected her to agree with Marcus, to tell me I'd made the right choice letting someone smarter handle it. Instead, her face went hard. Nadia, that doesn't sound right at all. That's your inheritance. If your parents left that to you, you should have access to it whenever you need it. But I'm not good with money, I whispered. Marcus knows better than me. Lisa grabbed both my hands and looked me straight in the eyes. Who told you that? Who told you that you're not good with money? I blinked. Marcus. My parents. My teachers. Everyone. And did anyone ever actually teach you? Did anyone sit down and show you how to budget, how to invest, how to understand financial documents? Or did they just tell you that you couldn't do it and leave you in the dark? I'd never thought about it like that. Never questioned it. It was just a fact. Like the sky being blue, Nadia is not good with money. Nadia is not smart enough to understand. Lisa made me promise to see a lawyer. It's just to ask questions. Just to understand my rights. I was terrified. What if Marcus found out? What if I was wrong? What if I was just being paranoid and stupid like he always said? But I made the appointment anyway. And when the lawyer looked over the papers I'd signed, when her face grew serious and concerned, when she leaned forward and said, Ms. Nadia, do you understand what you signed here? I felt my entire world start to crack open. You didn't sign over management rights, she said carefully. You signed over complete ownership. This money isn't yours anymore. Legally, it belongs entirely to your brother. The room spun. I couldn't breathe. But he promised he was just managing it. He said I'd always have access. The lawyer's expression was gentle but firm. I'm sorry, but according to these documents, your brother has no legal obligation to give you anything. He owns that money now completely. I confronted Marcus that same night. I drove to his house, my hand shaking so badly I could barely grip the steering wheel. His house. The one he bought with my parents' money while telling me it was invested for my future. It was beautiful. 3 stories, a perfect lawn, a fountain in the driveway. I lived in a studio apartment where the heat barely worked. He answered the door in a cashmere sweater, wine glass in hand. Behind him, I could hear dinner guests laughing. Nadia, what are you doing here? I'm hosting. You lied to me. My voice came out stronger than I expected. You stole from me. His expression didn't change, didn't even flicker with guilt. He stepped outside and closed the door behind him. Lower your voice. I have clients inside. I don't care about your clients. You took my inheritance. You made me sign papers you knew I wouldn't understand. You promised you'd take care of me, and you lied. Marcus set his wine glass down on the porch railing. When he looked at me, his eyes were cold, empty, like I was a stranger bothering him. I didn't lie, Nadia. You signed the papers. It's not my fault you didn't read them properly. It's not my fault you've never been smart enough to understand legal documents. The words hit me like a physical blow. You knew I wouldn't understand. You took advantage of that. I trusted you. He actually laughed, a short, bitter sound. I gave you an opportunity to let someone competent handle your money. Someone who actually knows what they're doing. You made your choice. Don't come crying to me now because you regret it. He picked up his wine glass and turned toward the door. I have guests. Don't come back here making scenes. The door closed in my face. I stood there on his perfect porch, in front of his perfect house, and I felt something inside me die. Not hope. Something deeper. The last piece of love I had for my brother turned to ash. I tried to fight it. Spent every dollar I had on lawyers. 3 different ones. They all told me the same thing. The papers were legal. I'd signed them willingly. There was no proof of coercion. No proof Marcus had deliberately misled me. It was my word against his, and he had documentation. Perfect legal documentation. I'm sorry, the last lawyer said. But unless you can prove fraud or undue influence, there's nothing we can do. I became obsessed. I stopped sleeping, stopped eating properly, spent every free moment researching Marcus's business, digging through public records, looking for anything that might help. And that's when I found it.
Marcus.
His company had been in serious debt 2 years ago, right around the time our parents died. He'd been on the verge of bankruptcy. Then, suddenly, mysteriously, his business was fine again, thriving even. He'd used our parents' money to save himself. While I was eating ramen noodles for dinner and choosing between electricity and heat, my brother was using my inheritance to fund his lifestyle, to impress his clients, to build his perfect life. But even knowing this, I couldn't prove it was illegal. I couldn't prove anything. I was leaving the courthouse after my final failed consultation when it happened. I was crying, not even trying to hide it anymore. My face was wet with tears, my nose running. I felt broken. Completely and utterly defeated. Maybe Marcus was right. Maybe I was too dumb to deserve that money. Too dumb to fight for myself. Nadia? I looked up. A woman stood in front of me. She was maybe in her mid-50s with gray hair pulled back in a bun and warm brown eyes. She wore a simple blue dress and carried a large purse. I didn't recognize her. I'm sorry. Do I know you? I managed to say through my tears. No, but I knew your mother. Very well. She reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope. It was thick, sealed with tape. My name is Margaret Chen. I worked with your mother for 20 years at the accounting firm. We were close friends, best friends actually. My breath caught. Mom had talked about Margaret. Her work wife, she used to call her. It's the person she had lunch with every day. Margaret's eyes were glistening now too. Your mother gave this to me 3 months before she died. She made me promise something. She said, Margaret, if anything ever happens to me, and if Marcus tries to push Nadia aside, you give her this envelope. You make sure she gets it. Promise me. My hands were shaking as I took the envelope. It was heavy, heavier than paper should be. She knew, Margaret whispered. Your mother knew what Marcus was capable of, and she tried to protect you. I couldn't open the envelope right away. I sat in my car in the courthouse parking lot, holding it in my lap, my whole body shaking. Margaret had already left, but her words echoed in my head. Your mother knew. She tried to protect you. When I finally tore it open, the first thing I saw was my mother's handwriting, her familiar looping letters on a stack of papers. But before I could read them, other documents spilled out. Medical reports, psychological evaluations. Letters to schools. All dated from when I was a child. My hands trembled as I read them. Letters from my mother to doctors begging them to test me. Letters to specialists asking for help. A diagnosis report from when I was 9 years old. Dyslexia, ADHD. Processing disorder. The words blurred through my tears. I wasn't stupid. I had never been stupid. I had learning differences that nobody at my school wanted to acknowledge because testing was expensive. Accommodations were expensive. But my mother had fought. For years, she'd fought. She'd paid out of her own pocket for private evaluations. She'd written to my teachers, pleading with them to give me extra time on tests, to let me use audiobooks, to understand that I wasn't lazy or dumb. I was just different, fairest on, and most of her letters had been ignored or dismissed. There was a note paper clipped to the evaluations in my mother's handwriting. They said we couldn't afford special education services for both children. We had to choose. Marcus was already doing well. You needed the help more. But your father insisted Marcus's future was more important. I'm sorry, baby. I'm so sorry I couldn't fight harder. I couldn't breathe. My mother had known. She'd known I needed help, and she'd been overruled. And she'd carried that guilt until the day she died. Then I found the letter, the one addressed to me. The paper was slightly yellowed, the ink a little faded, but her words were clear. My darling Nadia, if you're reading this, I'm gone, and I'm so deeply sorry. Sorry for leaving you. Sorry for not being stronger. Sorry for not fighting harder against your father and Marcus when they dismissed your needs. You are not dumb, my sweet girl. You never were. You have a beautiful, creative mind that works differently than others, and that's not a weakness. That's a gift. You see the world in ways Marcus never could. You feel things deeply. You care about people. You work harder than anyone I've ever known. I'm sorry we let Marcus make you feel small. I'm sorry we couldn't afford to send you to college. I'm sorry for every time I didn't speak up when he called you names or made you the punchline of his jokes. I was weak. I chose peace over protecting you, and that's my greatest failure as a mother. But I'm trying to make it right now. I'm trying to give you what you deserve. My vision was so blurred with tears I could barely read the next part. But then I saw it. Another document. A will, dated 2 months before my parents died. And it was completely different from the one Mr. Patterson had read to us. In this will, everything went to me. The house, the savings, the life insurance, everything. 100% to Nadia Marie Thompson. There was a note attached explaining why. Marcus has had every advantage we could give him. Private tutors, college graduate school, connections through our friends. He has his education, his successful career, his opportunities. He will be fine. Nadia has had to fight for every single thing she has. She's worked full-time since she was 18 to help support this family while Marcus built his future. She deserves security now. She deserves to rest. She deserves to know that she's valued and loved. We trust that she will use this money with the same kindness and generosity she's always shown to everyone around her. I was sobbing now. Full-body sobs that shook my entire car. My mother had seen me. She'd really seen me. Not as the dumb one. Not as the disappointment. As someone worthy. Someone deserving. But if this was the real will, what had happened to it? Why had Mr. Patterson read a different version? Margaret had included a note with her phone number. Call me when you're ready. There's more you need to know about what Marcus did. I called her right there in the parking lot, tears still streaming down my face. She answered on the first ring like she'd been waiting. Your mother gave me that will for safekeeping, Margaret said softly. She was worried. About 2 weeks before she died, she told me Marcus had been asking a lot of questions about their estate planning, about where they kept important documents. Your mother had a feeling, she said. A mother's intuition that something wasn't right. What are you saying? I whispered. I'm saying your mother suspected Marcus might try to change things after they were gone. So she gave me a sealed copy of the real will, the one she and your father had signed together, just in case. But the will Mr. Patterson read was altered. Margaret finished. Not a lot. Just enough to change it from everything going to you to a 50-50 split. Your mother told me Marcus had access to their safe. He knew the combination. He could have easily switched the documents after they died. My blood ran cold. He changed our parents' will. I can't prove it, Margaret said. But yes, I believe he did. And then he manipulated you into signing away even that half. Your mother knew Nadia. She knew what kind of man her son had become, and it broke her heart.